The OSHA standard is 29 CFR 10. That's General Industry Subpart Z, Zulu, 1910.1200. There's the website. Cannot locate the internet server or proxy server. Okay. What does that mean? What's that mean when that comes up? It means what?
You have no internet connection.
Somebody's on YouTube.
Somebody's on YouTube? I got it. Okay. Actually, on my other screen, it shows I have no internet. Okay, so we'll maybe go back later. If not, you guys can find it, 1910.12. Go to the OSHA website, click on regulations, find subpart Z. Overview. When I throw these overviews up, that's just to kind of try to summarize what the whole thing talks about. Hazard communication, that's something that a lot of people don't know about. This is required by OSHA. This is not a topic that I chose. I only get to pick 2 topics. And I can't remember which 2 I picked for you. So they're next, it'll be Wednesday, maybe, unless I'm not here. The basic goal of hazard communication program is to ensure employers and employees know about work hazards and how to protect themselves. Okay, we talked a little bit about this in the introduction. This is supposed to help reduce the incidence of chemical source injuries. More overview. Chemicals pose a wide range of health hazards such as, and this is on your handout, I put all the overviews on the handout. Irritation, sensitization, carcinogenicity, and physical hazards such as flammability, corrosion, and reactivity. That means it's cancer. Well, you guys can figure that out. Cancer or something. This standard is designed to ensure that information about these hazards and associated protective measures is given out to everybody, workers and employers. Provides workers with the right to know the hazards and identities of the chemicals they're exposed to. When workers have this information, they can effectively, this is the big thing, they can effectively participate in their employers' protective programs and take steps to protect themselves. That's the bottom line. Make sure you know what you need to know to protect yourself and everybody else. Intro. Now on this one, I forgot to add in, damn it, Jim. Okay, I forgot to include the learning objectives.
You have them.
You guys should have, do you have answers? I think I put all the answers on your handout too. Okay. All right, so somebody tell me what the learning objectives are. What's the first one?
Describe the 4 main employee responsibilities under the HazCom standards.
Okay, read those.
Identify and list hazard chemicals in their workplaces. Obtain material and safety data sheets and labels for each hazardous chemical. Implement a written HazCom program. Communicate hazard information to employees.
Okay, hang on. Maybe I can get this figured out. Okay, I got one. You can have that one. That'll work. Thank you. HazCom. All right, 1. Describe the 4 main employee responsibilities under the HazCom standard. Identify and list hazardous chemicals in the workplace. You ought to have a list of everything in there. If something new goes in, add to the list. If something goes out, don't necessarily take it off the list until you're not using it anymore and the effects of using it are gone. Obtain MSDS and label for each material safety data sheets and labels for each hazardous chemical. Implement a written HazCom program. That's required. You've got to have some kind of program that's implemented, and you have to train the workers on it. Communicate hazard information to employees through training. And the hazard program has to be available to all the employees. If you make a change, training has to occur. So you have to have some kind of means to inform all your employees if you make a change to the program, if you add chemicals to the workplace, if you take them away. Even if an MSDS changes, if they come out with a new rev to an MSDS, maybe they've determined that the isolation distance has to be doubled, okay? That has to be in there. So you want to make sure you get all the training on that. Number 2 is right about here. Discuss in detail at least 3 components of an appropriate Headcount program, including requirements to provide specific information. They got to be described in writing. Got to include training for the employees on all this stuff. I can read it right from here and don't have to twist. Yes, sir.
I had a question on the MSDS. So a plant buys the chemicals, and then does the manufacturer of the chemical give the plant the MSDS sheets, and then they just compile it? Or does the actual plant that buys the stuff put together their own MSDS sheet on it?
Not necessarily. If you go to Fred Meyer and buy a chemical that's required to have an MSDS, they don't give you that MSDS. If you buy from from a chemical supply corporation, then that's part of them sending you strictly chemicals. Sometimes they include an MSDS. They always have access to it because they have the chemical, so they have to have it available, so they'll give you copies of it. MSDSs are getting more and more formatted. They don't have to be the same format. So some of them will look a little different than others, but most companies are going to a standardized format on MSDSs. So they should look more and more correct. But to answer your question, no, they're not required to give you an MSDS. But they have to have the ability to provide it if you request it, and it has to be in the proper concentration. Isopropyl alcohol, you can buy it in 90 or 70. And it's got to be, 90% or 70%. So you got to have one specific to that. So, but Chemtrek, I think you drove a truck, Chris. Chemtrek, you remember that? Did you ever deliver transport hazardous material? Is it Chemtrek that has the 1-800 number that all truck drivers know? They have access to all that stuff, and if you can't locate an MSDS for it, it's Chemtrek, CHEMTREC or something like that. They have access to all the information. They can get you if nobody else can. They can. Might be. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I did it, but yeah. But anyway, there is an organization. It's Chemtech or Chemtrek or something like that. If you Google it, I'm sure it'll pop up. But they can get access to all of it. All right, so on the MSDSs, or on the training, labeling, MSDS, how to use the information, okay? Where it's located and how to use it, what it means. So basically you're going to train on an MSDS and know how to read everything, what PPE is. Hazardous chemicals in their work area. So if you work in the machine shop, what kind of hazardous materials? You're going to have some cutting oil, right? Is that hazardous? Yeah, probably is. So, I mean, even though to somebody it's just some goo you squeeze out of a bottle to keep bits from burning up, yeah, it's hazardous material, okay? So everything in your area has to be identified. Protective measures, there's them words again. Engineering controls and work practices, that shouldn't be two separate things. Protective measures such as engineering controls and work practices to mitigate hazards and personal protective equipment. That's back to the intro we talked about, right? You got to either have engineering controls or work practice controls or use PPE. And that should be, that's one line, so that dot shouldn't be there. How to detect the presence or release of hazardous chemicals. So that's warning signs. It might be odor, it might be visual fumes, it might be temperature, it might be noise, it might be fire, whatever. Okay, part of their training, provide a list of the chemicals found in the workplace, found or used. Information regarding hazards and protective measures available, so you have to know what you have there to deter the hazards or to help fight the hazards. And provide training, provide training in HazCom information in English and any other languages needed to successfully communicate to employees. Okay, so if you got guys who speak Japanese and can't understand English very well, but they're employees, which happens in a lot of international companies, then you have to train them in their native language or their home language that they speak the most fluently. Okay? So for me, if I was getting trained, I speak Portuguese. Yes, Chris. Chemtrek? Thank you. Chemtrek. If you're working around hazards, that's a good number to know, because they can tell you, if you can tell them what the chemical is, they can tell you what to do. They've got all the latest information. And they can all get you MSDS as well. Okay.